This here is arguably the most unfortunate group of royal bodyguards in the story. Every generation of Targaryen rulers had their conflicts, but this era I'm about to cover was unique. 107 years before the start of the main story, a very costly civil war took place within the Targaryen family over the line of succession. This bit of lore is so interesting and detailed that HBO immediately greenlit a series about it without ordering a pilot. This sort of thing almost never happens in the entertainment industry. They were so confident about the concept. I think HBO's only main concern about the upcoming prequel, House of the Dragon, is going to be the budget. There's going to be a ton of dragons and wild battles. During Game of Thrones, we never get a proper introduction to the Kingsguard. Yes, Barristan and Jaime did get the spotlight from time to time in their white cloaks, but how many other members can you remember? It didn't seem like much of a sacred brotherhood with how much time the show writers put into them. And at times, they didn't even honor the specific number of 7 slots being filled with the greatest fighters in the realm. Not a huge deal for casual viewers, especially considering the Kingsguard is just a shell of what it used to be before the time of Robert Baratheon. Skill and honor was replaced with empty gestures when Cersei began filling the vacant spots with embarrassing candidates. But in 130 AC, the setting where House of the Dragon will take place, was a very different story. This job was more important than ever. Targaryens with unlimited power and resources were actively hunting each other down. Right before the Civil War, a Targaryen king named Viserys named his firstborn daughter and only child at the time, Rhaenyra, the heir to the Iron Throne after him. Soon King Viserys would have more children with a different wife, but he insisted on keeping his daughter Rhaenyra, who he loved dearly, as his heir, despite now having sons. His second wife acted quickly in naming their son the new king after Viserys' eventual death, to Rhaenyra's surprise. For days, Rhaenyra had no idea that her father was even dead, because she was living on Dragonstone, the island not too far from King's Landing. It was a custom for the heir to the Iron Throne to live on the island until his time came to rule over all the 7 kingdoms. 5 of Viserys' Kingsguard members, including the Lord Commander, were stationed in King's Landing, while the other 2 guarded over Princess Rhaenyra and her family in Dragonstone. Her half-brother, Aegon II, was coronated with only 4 Kingsguard members around him though. The night before, he suffered his first defection. His father's Kingsguard member, named Sir Steffon Darklyn. This character honored the father's wishes and slept from the city with some allies to serve Rhaenyra, who in his eyes was the rightful heir. Though many disagreed, not wanting to see a woman on the throne. He brought with him the father's old crown as a gift, and was named Rhaenyra's Lord Commander for Queensguard. Some things you should know about the members of House Darklyn is they're known for their skill in battle, as well as holding the record for most family members serving a Kingsguard or Queensguard in this instance. Those 7 shields on their sigil represent the 7 family members who gave up everything to serve the royals. The 2 former Kingsguard members, who watched over Rhaenyra's side of the family during her time on Dragonstone, were also appointed to her Queensguard, Sir Laurent Marbrand and Sir Eric Cargyle. House Marbrand being a family in the Westerlands, and the Cargyles, a currently extinct house that once ruled from their seat in the Crownlands. These 3 formed the first iteration of a Queensguard in the story. Those 7 slots were not filled yet because of how little time there was to prepare for these matters, with Aegon already having a head start over his half-sister in this war. Rhaenyra was the first to ever do it. When Daenerys tries to make her own generations later, she is just following the lead of her ancestor. The former sworn brothers were split in 2, like the Targaryen family and all the 7 kingdoms, with every lord choosing a side, Rhaenyra's side being referred to as the Blacks, and Aegon II's the Greens. Some of the early tragedies begin with the former sworn brothers. Eric Cargyle used to share his position as Kingsguard with his twin brother, Auric Cargyle, but with them being separated during the start of the war, they kept their fealty to the closest Targaryen ruler in proximity. Auric, the twin brother in King's Landing serving Aegon II, was tasked with pretending to be his brother and infiltrate Dragonstone to put a quick end to this war and take out Rhaenyra's family. With them being identical in appearance and clothing, with their white armor and cloaks, Auric got pretty far before being confronted by his twin brother, the Queensguard. They said their final I love yous to each other, and then unsheathed their swords, putting duty ahead of blood. In the end, Sir Auric and Sir Eric dealt each other mortal wounds, and died in one another's arms with tears upon their cheeks. A popular song within this world was composed about these 2, and their final meeting before the fight, called Farewell My Brother. In the song, each brother tries to persuade the other to change sides. Failing, they exchange declarations of love, knowing that they have to now play the role of enemies. Before the full swing of the war went down, Rhaenyra already lost 1 of her 3 Queensguard members. She hadn't even sat on the Iron Throne yet. It wouldn't be long before she lost another. The Blacks had more dragons than Targaryens on their side. Dragonstone was their natural lair, with its comfortable climate and caves due to the volcano here. All men who believed they had Targaryen blood running through them, or capabilities to tame a dragon, were asked to give it a shot in the dragon's lairs. Lord Commander Steffon Darklyn was crazy enough to throw his hat in the ring, but he's a true-born Darklyn, and they have never had marriages between the Targaryen family. So Steffon was burned to death while attempting to mount a riderless dragon called Sea Smoke. He wasn't the only dummy though. 16 men lost their lives during these attempts, and 3 times that number were burned or seriously injured. Rhaenyra was down to 1 member of her Queensguard without even being recognized as a true queen yet. With no other competition, Sir Lawrence Marbrand was named as the new Lord Commander, the second within a matter of months, maybe less. Eventually, Rhaenyra was able to easily take King's Landing, but holding it was the real challenge. While in King's Landing, Lord Commander Lawrence Marbrand was tasked with filling all the vacant spots within the Queensguard with men who he deemed worthy. He was able to find 5 others deserving of this title. I'm sure you can guess why he didn't have enough time to find the 7th and final member. But Rhaenyra's Queensguard was as complete as it was ever going to be. Her new guards consisted of Glendon Good, Lionel Bentley, Harold Dark, Adrian Redford, and Lord Lansdale. Riots were beginning to form within King's Landing's gates, and the small folk were set on ousting Rhaenyra from the Iron Throne. She locked them into a city where a dragon fight was inevitable. The people only wanted the gates open so they could escape, but Rhaenyra didn't allow it. Lord Commander Lawrence Marbrand was sent to Flea Bottom, essentially the slums of King's Landing, to bring back order to the out-of-control riots. He, along with 100 of his men, were attacked, and only 16 returned alive. The Lord Commander wasn't one of them. The angry small folk were known to despoil the corpse of nobles when they can get their hands on it. So newly appointed Queensguard member, Glendon Good, made sure to fight them off and bring his sworn brother's body back to Rhaenyra. We don't know how exactly Lorne died, but it apparently was horrific enough to make Queen Rhaenyra weep. For his work in the riots, the young but skilled Glendon Good was appointed as the next Lord Commander, a title he would hold for a shorter period of time than his successor. Things were going downhill fast in King's Landing for Rhaenyra. The people were getting more and more restless, and her enemies could show up at any given moment. Less than a day after his promotion, Lord Commander Glendon Good had to make his way back into the streets of King's Landing, this time to retrieve the Queen's son. With the mob's size growing exponentially, he didn't stand a chance. Queen Rhaenyra ordered every man around to save her son. The few notable characters that followed her death sentence were called the 7 Who Rode. Harold Dark and Lord Lansdale were also amongst the 7 who rode, and even made it out of the mobs alive. They were able to retrieve the prince's corpse, but the mob did have a go at it before they could reach him. During the fighting, Glendon Good was attacked from behind by a man with a torch who set his long white cloak on fire. His horse threw him off and the mob swarmed him, tearing him to pieces. Sir Glendon had been Lord Commander of the Queensguard for less than a day, and Rhaenyra would be the half-year queen. She had to get out of the city and find a way back to Dragonstone to get her greedy hands on more dragons. Escorted by her last 4 Queensguard members, they were attacked on the road, and the group lost Lionel Bentley after a hit to his head, and then there were 3. The surviving few were ambushed by Aegon II and his men when they meted at Dragonstone. An axe split Sir Harold Dark's head before his sword could clear its scabbard, and Sir Adrian Redford was stabbed through the back with a spear. Only Lord Lansdale moved quickly enough to strike a blow in the Queen's defense, cutting down the first 2 men who came at him before being slain himself. They would never be replaced because Rhaenyra would be fed to Aegon's dragon. I wish they had more feats instead of gruesome deaths I could detail, but that's just how the story is sometimes, you know. Let's see if the show writers on House of the Dragon will do anything with these characters. Steffon Darklyn maybe, because of the whole defecting into the night with the father's crown, could make for a good scene. They have no reason to have crazy fast pacing, because the whole series could wrap in 4 seasons if they don't go beyond the Dance of the Dragons lore. Do you guys even care to see these Queensguard members be prominent characters in the prequel? If you're watching this video, then that's probably an obvious yes. Alright, I'll see you guys next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for watching.